Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the Honourable Member, Honourable Govind, for asking this question. Mr. Speaker, both the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Environment is very much concerned about the volume of inorganic fertilizers that are being utilized throughout Fiji in the agriculture sector. Mr. Speaker, one of the primary concerns is about the negative effect of inorganic fertilizers on the environment, on our soil structure, on groundwater lens, as well as surface water, as well as on flora and fauna. Mr. Speaker, the components in our fertilizer, the three major macronutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, which are the major components of any fertilizer that are being used in the agriculture sector, and some of the micronutrients that are in these fertilizers, in these inorganic fertilizers that are used in the agriculture sector, has major impact on the flora and fauna and the environment and groundwater as well as surface water. Mr. Speaker, as you know, that our agriculture sector, as we are commercializing, as we are expanding, is now moving towards upper catchment, higher altitude, higher areas, from where most of our drinking water is collected through the streams and comes to our reservoirs. And as farmers are increasing the utilization of these fertilizers, particularly nitrate and potassium-based fertilizers, this can have a major health impact on us downstream who are consuming this water. Excessive amount of nitrates can cause health problems. Mr. Speaker, also in the rural areas, farm households are utilizing groundwater for consumption. And this groundwater that they obtain, they're obtaining it within their farm area where fertilizers are utilized. Either it's through well, borehole. Mr. Speaker, excessive utilization of these fertilizers goes down to the groundwater lens, which is then pulled up for utilization, for consumption, for drinking, and also for cooking purposes. Mr. Speaker, environmentalists are also concerned about the fertilizers' impact on the flora and fauna, on the environment has its own way of balancing. And us interfering by applying heavy doses of these fertilizers can affect that particular balance. Mr. Speaker, we are also having a major impact as agriculture is expanding, commercializing. We are importing increasing amounts of fertilizer. At the moment, our import bill of fertilizer stands at around $20 million. So, Mr. Speaker, both the ministries are working together to see how we can reduce the utilization of inorganic fertilizer and substitute it with organic fertilizer without compromising on our quest to increase agricultural output. Mr. Speaker, we're doing, I would say, substantially well in terms of increasing agriculture production. Our agricultural exports, fresh produce exports, have gone substantially high over the last 5 years by 26% in value terms and 16% in volume terms, which is a remarkable achievement from 2016 to 2020, the data that we have got recently from Bureau of Stats. Mr. Speaker, so abruptly stopping or cutting down an importation of inorganic fertilizer is not the way to go. Mr. Speaker, we also want to cash into the small but significant and growing organic market, not only in overseas but also in Fiji too, Mr. Speaker. And if we can access that particular market, we will be able to get premium price. Mr. Speaker, it is in this regard that we are working very closely with farmers, with organizations to get organic fertilizer readily available. Mr. Speaker, the organic fertilizer, for it to substitute inorganic fertilizer, the two key dimensions. One, for the same amount of fertilizer, organic fertilizer that you apply, in substituting the inorganic fertilizer, you must have greater positive impact in terms of productivity and production. Number two, the unit cost should be low. Any farmer, the primary objective of the farmer is to maximize output, maximize production, while minimizing cost. So if you tell the farmer, if you tell the agricultural entrepreneur that you substitute this, the farmer will say, what will be the impact on my bottom line? So Mr. Speaker said, we have got model farmers who are solely commercial farmers, large-scale farmers, who are solely relying on organic fertilizer to undertake agricultural activities. I give you three examples. Mr. Speaker said, model farmer in Kandavu, Mr. Tanyal Andama, who utilizes poultry manure for his Yangona farm, for his vegetable farms, and he's supplying vegetables to the hotels there when the hotels was in operation in Kandavu, Mr. Speaker said. And for the last 6 years, he has not utilized on his commercial farm $1 worth of inorganic fertilizer. Mr. Speaker said, we have got a farmer in Kulukulu, Pranil Singh, who is making net return of around 100,000 per year in a 15-acre farm without utilizing single inorganic fertilizer as well as any chemicals for pest control. He's basically using other biological methods of controlling pests and diseases. Mr. Speaker said we've got the Tokay Agriculture, Aquaculture and Trade Corporation Association. They've carried out extensive research, and CEO Kalivati Bonduravu is a champion of utilizing organic fertilizer in his cooperative, Mr. Speaker said. And they have found that utilization of organic fertilizer vis-a-vis inorganic fertilizer has resulted in much better yield in the Dalo farms, Mr. Speaker said. And they are in fact providing and giving out organic manure to their farmers in their cooperative. Mr. Speaker said there are other commercial ventures who are utilizing organic fertilizer that we are supporting. Mr. Speaker said we are also have developed a bacterium medium, liquid organic bacterium medium, which we are giving out to farmers so that they can utilize this to enhance faster degradation of the compost that they have got on their own farm. And secondly, this particular bacterium medium, when they apply on the field, it helps in better uptake of micronutrients by the plants, Mr. Speaker said. Often what happens is that excessive and continuous utilization of inorganic fertilizer for a longer period of time raises the soil pH and makes the soil acidic, and therefore fertilizer is wasted. So uptake is not there. So Mr. Speaker said, thirdly, Mr. Speaker said, we are also developing organic fertilizer, organic manure, which we want to give it out to remote farmers in the island so that they can have access to that at no cost to them, Mr. Speaker said. And that work is in progress, and we are utilizing poultry manure. And also, Mr. Speaker said, we have extracted a large amount of bat manure from caves around the central division, which is the only source of phosphorus, Mr. Speaker said. The Speaker said normal animal manure, animal waste, has got good content of nitrogen and potassium, but most of this waste lack phosphorus, which is very expensive. So, Mr. Speaker said we have found this source, which is not in large amounts, but we are utilizing that in our organic fertilizer, which we want to give it out to farmers in the remote interior area. So, Mr. Speaker said, we also want to gradually move to identifying islands which we want to declare them as organic, and there will be no fertilizer utilized in those islands, and those islands will be then certified as organic island, and the product that comes out of that island would be organic product, Mr. Speaker said. Mr. Speaker said our turmeric that goes from Fiji, which is widely grown, 100% organic, is fetching premium price in the US market. And Mr. Speaker said we are not able to fulfill the full demand for turmeric from the US market, Mr. Speaker said. And there and Mr. Speaker said turmeric is now moved to one of the top 6 export crops alongside dalo and yangona and ginger, Mr. Speaker said. So you can see how we can leverage ourselves to assert in the export market our product by differentiating with other countries' product in the same market by being certifying our product as organic. But then again, Mr. Speaker said, we need to get into that. And certification is not a one-year process, Mr. Speaker said. It's a couple of years process where, you know, you really need to have a dedicated area and need to comply with the requirements before the certifying organization certifies the particular area as organic and the product coming out as organic product, Mr. Speaker said. Mr. Speaker said, so in the longer run, for smaller countries like Fiji, we can have a competitive edge in the export market if we are able to differentiate our product. And one way of differentiating our agricultural produce, produce, is by getting it to be organic, Mr. Speaker said. And organic and the products coming out of organic produce, Mr. Speaker, again will fetch premium price in the export market. So, Mr. Speaker said, in a nutshell, we are working with farmers to provide them with support materials so that they can develop their own organic fertilizer. We are supplying bacterium medium which helps to improve their compost and decompose in a short period of time. Number 3, we're developing our own organic product which will only give it to interior and remote farmers and island farmers because they don't have access to this material to make compost there. While the farmers in the central, western and northern division, we are working with them for them to develop their own compost, and we are giving out this medium to them, Mr. Speaker said. And Mr. Speaker said, I've got a long list of areas and the hectares that has grown organic in this Fiji, and probably I'll get provide the data later on, or if someone asks a question, I'll read those out, Mr. Speaker said. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable Inoshi Kurindrani. You have the floor for supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Supplementary question. The Minister has clearly stated the importance of organic manure in terms of agriculture production. My question is to the Minister, what has happened to the supply of free poultry manure to the farmers that he boasted about in 2019 to be supplied in 2020? What has happened? If not supplied, why?
The floor.
Probably, I don't know, he's not able to hear the delivery that I made just a while ago. I said that we are providing the organic finished product to remote interior farmers. For example, in Nandaribatu, last year we delivered a couple of truckloads of poultry manure so that, you know, they can develop their own compost from that. And similarly, Mr. Speaker said, throughout Fiji, if you go to any extension office today, you'll find probably 1,000-liter tank there where we've got this lactic acid bacterium medium, which any farmer can come with their gallon. They can fill their gallon with the bacterium medium. We will give a sticker which they put it on their gallon so that it says that this is a bacterium medium. They can take it and put it on their farm, or they can put it in the compost, which will help improve their compost, decompose the compost in a shorter period of time. And also, if they put it on their farm, it'll quickly improve the soil structure as well as improve the uptake of micronutrients. So that is happening, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Thank you. Honourable Lamina Walker, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The Honourable Minister spoke about turmeric and its huge, area in Andronganawosa in the Highlands. Can I just ask the Honourable Minister, what kind of harvest are they carrying out? Is it in a sustainable manner, or can he brief the House on how it's being done to make sure it's sustainable? Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Minister, you have the floor.
Mr. Speaker, Honourable Member probably, I'm sure he knows the plant system. It has got ribosomes, and when you pull out a turmeric plant and you pull out the turmeric, the roots, certain parts of that turmeric will remain there, and the roots will be there, and it will grow again. That's one. It happens. And secondly, we have got villages. Our officers are working with the villages to expand that, but we are very careful, very particular that we don't want that particular expansion to get into an area where inorganic fertilizers are applied, and therefore then it gets mixed with the organic turmeric. So there are villages who are actively bringing new land under turmeric, but we have made it very clear that given that at the moment our turmeric is classified as organic turmeric, we don't want to risk it that it is mixed up with commercial turmeric that is grown with inorganic fertilizer.
Thank you. Honorable Ndrondo, you have the floor.
Sir, I just wanted to ask the Minister a supplementary question on his previous decision regarding the banning of paraquat. I think this is a weedicide, and this is part of the production for any farmer to grow into talking about manures. So can the Minister advise whether he will be able to review the decision to ban the paraquat, to reintroduce them, as this is some of the plights, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the Dalo farmers, especially in the Naitasiri, Namosi, and also Tailebu and Onuelebu areas, who have faced difficulties in trying to maintain their Dalo farms in Angona, Tavioka, because of the banning of the paraquat by the Ministry of Agriculture and replacing it with a samurai weedicide. So can the Minister review the decision to ban the paraquat and reintroduce them to assist the non-sugarcane farmers? Thank you.
On the floor, Honorable Minister.
Mr. Speaker, no, that's not going to happen. No way. We have made a decision last year. We have got about, I think it was year before last, we have got now about more than 24 months of experience. There is no issue. There are some farmers who psychologically they're stuck with the paraquat, Grameen zone, and they think that there's no other alternative. But we have provided them with alternatives, Mr. Speaker say, and we are very concerned, Mr. Speaker say, we are very concerned about the effect of paraquat, its residue on human health, and also directly and indirectly through the residues on the produce which people are consuming. Mr. Speaker say, if you just Google the impact of paraquat consumption on human health, you will find a number of refereed journal articles who have proven that there is a direct impact, negative impact of Grameen consumption through its residue on human health, Mr. Speaker say. And that is why, Mr. Speaker say, you find now there's a large number of cases of cancer, Mr. Speaker say. So no, that's not going to happen. Thank you.
I thank the Honourable Minister. Honourable members will suspend the question time there whilst we deal with the suspension motion. For the purposes of complying with the standing orders with respect to sitting times, I will allow a suspension motion to be moved. And I now call upon the Leader of Government in Parliament, the Honourable Inia Serui Ratu, to move his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, Mr. Speaker, I move under Standing Order 6 that so much of Standing Order 23, Clause 1 is suspended so as to allow the House to sit beyond 4:30 p.m. today to complete the remaining items as listed on today's order paper. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir.
Is there a seconder?
Honourable Speaker, I second the motion.
I now call upon the Leader of Government in Parliament to speak on his motion. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir. It's 19 minutes past 4, and we still have 4 remaining questions under agenda under Schedule 2 of today's order paper, and that's the request. If we can sit beyond 4:30 p.m. today in order to complete the agenda items, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Honourable members, the floor is now open for debate on the motion. Anyone wishing to take the floor? As there is no one wishing to take the floor, I give the floor to the Honourable Leader of the House if you want to add anything further. You have the floor, sir.
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, the Parliament will now vote. The question is that under Standing Order 6, that so much of Standing Orders 23, Clause 1, is suspended so as to allow the House to sit beyond 4:30 p.m. today to complete the remaining items as listed on today's order paper. Does any member oppose the motion? No. As no member opposes, the motion is agreed to unanimously. Secretary General, we will continue, and I give the floor for the fifth oral question for today to the Honourable Inosi Kurendrani to ask question 94 of 2021. You have the floor, Honourable Kurendrani.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to ask the question directed to the Minister for Agriculture, Waterways and Environment. Can the Minister update Parliament on the progress of the partnership to establish goat meat industry that was provided for in the budget 2019 and 2020, and also in the budget 2020 to 2021? Thank you, sir.
You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the Honourable Member for asking this question. Mr. Speaker, we note that there is substantial demand for meat consumption in the country. Mr. Speaker, we note that we are importing about close to $48 million of lamb meat every year. On a good year. Last year it went down to $40 million. And we note that while lamb meat is very widely consumed by nearly every household, goat meat is also high in demand. But one way of reducing the import bill of lamb meat is we increase our production. At the moment, we're importing 98% of the lamb meat that we consume. Mr. Speaker, over the last decade, we have substantially increased lamb production, sheep farming in Fiji, and therefore locally provision of lamb meat. But we note, Mr. Speaker, that similarly, goat production is 3 times higher than sheep rearing in Fiji. And we note that while we are doing everything to expand sheep production and the number of farms in Fiji, we can also substitute lamb meat if we are able to supply goat meat. But the problem at the moment is that we don't have a formal market for goat meat. Now, what happens is that goat farmers, they raise the goat, they sell it in the informal market. Now, because they slaughter it at home, they cannot sell the meat for commercial purpose. Anyone slaughtering on their own backyard, on their farm, any animal, unless it is inspected by meat inspector, unless it is slaughtered in a slaughterhouse or abattoir, it cannot be sold commercially. They can consume it for the family purpose, because the moment you sell it commercially, and if there's any health issue, then to whom we have the liability with? So, Mr. Speaker, we want to while we're rapidly expanding goat production, we want to get it through the formal sector. And if we need to get it to the formal sector, then we will need to have, a large farm who will have a, part of the supply chain to the supermarkets. So, Mr. Speaker, in the 2019-2020 budget, the Ministry of Economy allocated $1 million for us to establish, one, the fattening farm and also feeder farms. So at the moment, we've got 8 commercial and 12 semi-commercial farms with a stock of close to 3,000 who will be supplying this goat at $6 a kg live meat to the fattening farm, who will take this goat and then raise them further, use different feed to get them to the required weight with the required level of fat, and then they will formally slaughter in a proper slaughterhouse or abattoir and get it to the supermarket so that it's readily accessible to anyone who would want to buy. So Speaker, at the moment, lamb meat prices go on to about $20, $21, $22, $23 a kg. And if you are able to increase production of goat meat, we can pack it slightly lower than that, or substantially lower than that, depends on supply. If you are able to get a large supply in the market, then obviously the equilibrium will come down, the price equilibrium. So Mr. Speaker, Western Division, it is working fine. We are able to get it to the supermarkets, but it got affected by the cyclone and COVID. But we are now also embarking on establishing these feeder farms in Northern Division. At the moment, we don't have a slaughterhouse and abattoir in Northern Division, but we are looking at establishing a slaughterhouse once we get to the stage of establishing the fattening farm. So Western Division is ready and operating, but in Northern Division, we've got the feeder farms who will be supplying to the fattening farm. We haven't established the fattening farm at the moment, and we're looking towards, as soon as we get into that, we can then also establish a slaughterhouse there.